what initially drew your attention to automation? Why only automation?
Skipped a lecture and joined an internship in HP as an RPA developer. I never knew what automation is back then.
Choose between Microsoft Power Automate or UiPath.
And second of all, don't automate a shitty process. No code is not just like creating a tool, creating solution or automation, but
How do you see the balance between citizen developers and traditional developers evolving in the automation space?
So if you know how to put some pieces of code here and there, you're just like the best no-code developer out there. And
one skill every automation engineer needs.
This whole mess, how many times I had a problem that I talked to one manager from the client and they don't speak between each other.
Welcome back to another exciting podcast on RPA Feeds channel. And today I have with me Alisa. Alisa is joining me from Poland and she has around 6 years of experience into automation and RPA. She's currently a solopreneur. She has started Alisa Hub where she builds automation solution for the organization. Welcome Alisa to the podcast. Excited to have you.
Hi there. Thank you so much for inviting me. It's great. It's great to be here. Yeah, my name is Alisa. And as you said, I've been working in automation for more than 6 years now. And right now I'm building Alisa Hub, where I basically help companies with automations and no-code solutions.
Superb. So would you like to introduce yourself, like where you come from and how you have started into automation space?
So actually, I've been living in Poland for 8 years now, studying here, and this is basically how I got into automation. It was super random. I just skipped a lecture and joined an internship in HP as an RPA developer. I never knew what automation is back then, but this is basically how it all started. And then I worked for other companies, for EY, for Boston people as automation engineer, doing everything from RPA to no code to more smaller business automations. And here I am 6 years later, still as in love with automation as I was and starting my new journey right now.
So what initially drew your attention to automation? Why only automation? Why not other field? What was that decision-making point that you should go and start your career into automation?
I think, I was studying business IT and it was like I was studying a bit of management, bit of economics, bit of programming. And then I looked at robotic process automation and it was basically a bit of everything. So it's like a very good, next step for my studies. And it was a super new technology back then. So I can't even say what drew me because there was literally like not much of it back then. It was just very exciting and new. And there were maybe like 5 articles on Google about RPA back then. And it's difficult to say that it was something to draw me in yet, but maybe this mystery of it and that it was something, new exciting technology and there were not many specialists in it also made me think, okay, maybe I can become the specialist in it actually.
Okay, super. I think that's the same story. And as far as I know, you are evangelizing no code solutions a lot. And why did you choose no code solutions? What advantages do you see as compared to traditional coding approaches?
So I think I myself never studied programming as in my studies, so no computer science as it is. However, we had quite some programming, but I was never so excited about it, maybe as others were. And I just didn't see myself spending so much time writing code. I'm not saying it's something bad. I think it just wasn't for me. I like talking to people. I like seeing more deeper problem in it. So basically no code is not just creating a tool, creating solution or automation, but you kind of have to analyze all of it, design processes, design the solution. So there is much more to it and there is a lot of talking to people. And I think this is what I like about this technology. And you don't have to write code. So it's so much quicker and so much easier actually. You don't have to learn it that much just to jump into it. I think this is why maybe.
Okay, got it. So when it comes to automating a process, what criteria do you use so that to think that your process is suitable for an automation?
So my first criteria is always okay, are you going to change the system in half a year or a year? Are you going to use another version of SAP? So if someone says, yes, we are actually rolling out a new ERP system, I'm okay, then we do not automate it. So I think this the first one always, just don't do it for the sake of automation. Just do it in the right time. So if it's not the right time for automation, I would never advise it. And second of all, don't automate a shitty process. Basically, just go through it, just make it better. So this is the first step. And then if this process actually makes sense when it's automated as well, this is the only moment to go for automation. It's very important, this like initial phase for it. But in general, I think like there are so many processes that are suited for automation, just not as they are right now. If someone would take a look at it and just make the process better, it would also be suitable for automation, basically.
Yeah. Very true. Sort of my audiences who watches this channel come from a PA development background, and they are more interested into developing solutions. So from your experience, that you said like you didn't had any programming experience before breaking into this field. So any advice you would like to give them, or any roadmap you like to share that they can upskill in certain technology and be a good RPA developer?
So yeah, I never had programming as like programming, I don't know, just solely coding, but we had courses for C#, JavaScript, SQL. And I think this is like something I tell anyone who wants to go into no code. I'm like, learn coding first. Like just, I know it makes not much sense, but if you want to go into it, you need to know who your enemy in a way is, like you need to know the reason why you don't have to code, but also you need to know how to use it. Like use it for your advantage. Use the coding to make your no code better. And it does contradict itself, but I still think there is like, of course, you cannot do everything with no code. So if you know how to put some pieces of code here and there, you're just like the best no code developer out there then.
So how I would also say this to write, if there are some people who still want to develop things, but don't want to get into the nitty gritty of learning DSA and all the programming technologies and solving problems. They want to quickly build something, but still they want to be building things. So these low code, and I wouldn't say no code, but low code solutions are the best platforms and tools so that you can leverage like OutSystem, Mendix, APN, and all these RPA and automation platforms. They help you to quickly build thing and productionize it with all your knowledge. So definitely programming skill set is needed. Not expert level knowledge is needed, but yeah, intermediately or basic level knowledge is needed.
Yeah, I think what also helped me is to understand the concepts, like when you are learning what object-oriented programming is, or how databases are built. This is, I think, what helped me a lot with my RPA or automation skills, to just know how to structure my data. Without it, I would be gone. So I think it's very important skill to know those basics of programming.
Yeah. And there is always a debate, which brings to the next question. So debate between a full stack developer or a pro coder and a no coder, right?
Okay.
So what's your response to the skeptics who believe no code solutions aren't robust enough for enterprise level automations?
I would look them deep in the eyes and ask, did you try it? Do you just say it for the sake of saying so? Because I do believe that there are limitations. Of course there are. But then there is speed. And then there is basically it's liberalizing, not coding. It's liberalizing creation of software pieces, solutions. So I think if someone says it's not good enough, it's not, advanced enough, it's okay, it doesn't have to be as advanced as coding, because not every solution needs, a huge C# approach to it. Some solutions can be just built in Babel in a matter of 48 hours and they will be good. They might not be scalable for millions of users, but it's not their purpose also, right? Because no one will probably build a new SAP in no code. It just makes no sense. It's just, if we bring more people to the conversation and allow them to build, then we will have much more new cool solutions, new cool platforms. And I think this is all that matters at the end of the day.
Yeah, true. So in your career, you have spent most of the time working as a builder, right? A developer, a bot builder, or a solution builder. Any experience that you interacting with business, like to and fro for assessing the use cases or for finding out the process discovery kind of things? Have you done those as well?
Yeah, actually, this was always my role as a developer, to first be the analyst and then be developer and then be the tester and then be a support person. So I think it is actually quite often for every RPA developer, you're everyone at the same time, because also back then there were no RPA analysts. No, it's everyone was just a developer and then they tried their best to analyze. I think now more and more there are business analyst roles. But back then it was wild. You were everyone at the same time.
It's
I think how it
now.
stick to me.
Yeah, it's
but I like
now,
it.
and as the organizations have scaled up, they have formed different teams for doing a specific work.
Yeah. Exactly.
So you were a single woman army those days.
Yeah, exactly. You're doing everything you can, but I think it was fun. And I think this is what, like, I still do it. Like, I don't just develop things because then you would develop something bad. Like, you need to talk to your business. You need to know what the problem is, what the underlying problem is, what can be the solution, which maybe they don't even think about. Maybe it's not even automation is not the best solution at the end. But until you talk to them, you will just build a shitty automation, basically.
Yeah, true. A follow-up question on based on this conversation. What are the common pitfalls you have seen businesses fall into when implementing automation, or and how they can avoid it?
So I think it is often that when we speak about business, it's mainly like a project manager whose timeline is very strict till end of Q3. They need like 100 processes automated. They need it running. Like they need it because they need to present it on their big presentation in front of the board of managers or whatever. And then there are like those SMEs who are actually doing the process, who are there on the field, like doing the process itself. And those people know about their process and those project managers do not. And this is like the mismatch of the lack of communication between the parties in the client's company is what often creates either a bad automation or just very long, very expensive projects that at the end don't matter. Because like, as I mentioned, like one party of the company, they know that they're going to change a system and then project manager knows nothing. He just wants it automated. And then like this whole mess, how many times I had a problem that I talked to one manager from the client and they don't speak between each other. So I think this lack of communication is just like, maybe it's not a very technical problem, but this creates so much like pressure on the project that at the end it just does not work.
True. The understanding is important. Yeah, it should not be a view from 30,000 feet. Rather, it should be someone who assesses the situation and knows how things work within the space.
Exactly. And sometimes you feel like like a psychologist. You sit there on the call with your client and the other like managers and they speak between each other. They argue and you're like, hey guys, let's take it slow. And they're like, no, I don't know. It's sometimes just crazy to see how like, I feel like people just don't talk to each other. And this creates this very, very long processes where no one gets accesses and then it costs, mountains of money.
Cool. Moving on to rapid fire. So I've got one rapid fire section. So I'll be just asking you a few rapid fire questions and I expect you to answer within 5 seconds.
Oh my God. Okay.
Okay. So first question, most underrated automation tool.
It's Bardeen all the way. Bardeen forever. No one knows about it and I'm very sad about it.
Okay. Sure. Now people would know who are watching this podcast.
Hope so.
Choose between Microsoft, Power Automate, or UiPath.
It's UiPath. I mean, it got me into automation, so I'm forever UiPath girl.
Biggest myths about automation that you would love to bust.
It's complicated. It's not. It's easy. You just need to try it.
Highest ROI you achieved from a single bot.
I think it was like 700% in 1 month. And I know it sounds like, yeah, it was like that.
That's really good. I mean, it's superb.
I just agree. Like it's crazy number, but it was like that.
One skill every automation engineer needs. Can you describe in one word?
Flexibility. You need to know many tools. You cannot just know one. It's a bad path to be an automator.
Okay. Thank you so much for taking those rapid fire questions. Moving on to the next questions. How do you see the balance between citizen developers and traditional developers evolving in the automation space?
I think, first of all, I'm like very happy that there is generally like even the term citizen developer. I think this is like something that makes me very happy because this is the purpose of no code. It's just to bring people closer to it. Maybe people who never had anything to do with it, to bring them closer to building their own automations, their solutions. I do have sometimes like concern and a bit, you need to be careful with introducing, giving everyone Power Apps license in your company and then hoping for the best. So I don't think it's maybe the best approach to it. So I do like center of excellence approach that there is, I don't know, let's say a business analyst or like one of the employees in each team who knows how to do something and they create something and then it goes through the center of excellence just to double check it. So I think this is like the best approach. Don't just give everyone license and just expect that there will be great apps and will not break the whole, SharePoint. it needs to be still checked because otherwise it's just a disaster waiting to come.
Yeah. The templates or the framework should be enforced so that the developers, like you should templatize frameworks so that citizen development can get started with that templates and they can build a solution around that framework so that they're less prone to errors?
I also believe in very strong training because, I was just working with bots and people for like more than 2 years. And this was our purpose, is to train people, to help people learn automation, to become citizen developers. And this is like a great way to go. Just educate people. Don't expect that they will suddenly know how to use Power Automate. So you need to give them proper training. And then I think it's like only up from there. It's a very good way to create like citizen developers in your company.
Yeah. So as part of that training, did they also included programming basics, or only it was related to a platform?
So rather to a platform and general like concepts of automation, we would always start first with like what is automation, what is RPA, what is iPaaS, like what are cloud softwares, and so on and so on. So to build up the knowledge ground up, but never go into like deep into programming, because it just like makes no sense. For example, if you use Power Automate, the cloud version, you don't have to know much. You just need to know functions which are almost like an Excel. So, but I think like those trainings, and people were always very happy to learn and very interested. Then they got excited and then they learned more on their own, but they had this, basics, let's say, covered.
In your 6 years of automation journey, I believe you have done a lot of complex automations, medium complex automations. Would you like to share any of complex automation that you worked on and that was very complex in nature?
I think maybe the most complex process generally to approach. It wasn't like even the automation was complex at the end. The process itself is so complex that like it took me weeks to even understand it. And the idea of the process was that several reporting analysts, they were printing out screenshot. They were taking screenshots of an SAP table in one of the SAP transactions. Then they were printing it out. Then with a pencil, like manually, they were like checking several SAP transactions or like SAP records. They were putting a little cross next to them. They were scanning them, and then they were sending it to another team. And this way they were like marking where the corrections should be done in SAP. And when I got this project, this process, I was like, what is it? Like, what do you want me to do with it? Even like, it's not possible to do it this way. And I think like in the end, it worked. Like we created a solution for it, which was like a table where people would put records. So it was a couple years ago. I don't remember full details, but it was so like digital approach. So it wasn't even automation. We just digitalized a very bad process, and it saved people so many hours and like so many human errors. And I think this was the most difficult project for me to just also convince the business that it cannot work like this, because there were like people who did it that way for like 10 years. They didn't want to hear about any change management. I was like, hey, do you know change management? They're like, not. And we don't want to hear about it. So I think the general approach was just so complex, but we made it work. It worked.
Yeah. Actually, people refrain themselves from changing or adapting new ways of working, which this problem happens with the process owners and who are day in, day out doing it from quite a long years, right? So that challenge is there, definitely.
Yeah, I think it's just human nature.
Yeah, it is. What emerging trends in no code or automation should our listeners be paying attention to? Now, right, there's a lot happening in the space around AI and RPA as well. So what do you think?
I think like hyper automation in general, it was there for a while, but then now with AI emerging, of course, there is much more like just putting pieces of AI technology into automation and using it. It's so cool. Like you can achieve mountains with that. So I think it's maybe not something absolutely new trend that you need to watch, but it's something that will be growing and growing. And if you don't keep up with that, you're just going to be left behind. But I wouldn't also, I'm a bit skeptical sometimes of AI, so I don't want to also say like, yeah, it's the only thing you need to be watching right now. I think it's important to just look for the new softwares that are being like introduced into no-code space, because there are so many of them all the time. Like I feel like every day there is a new software coming up, and it's crazy. So just like watch out for the new tools coming out, maybe like this. There are the trends.
Yeah, true. After Gen AI technology, like everybody are seeing a lot of possibility. Anthropic released their upgraded version of Claude, which now has a capability to mimic human actions, similar to an RPA. So that's possible within an AI platform now. It's still
you
in
just
beta.
gotta watch out.
But I mean, if they are working towards it, so eventually they will make it happen.
I want to see how they automate an SAP process. Like I cannot wait for AI to just do it for us, because this is like the biggest pain always.
Yeah, true. Coming to next question. So you said that currently you are into a solopreneurship journey and you're working for yourself, like you're building alaskahub.io and you're trying to get clients who want their process to be automated and stuff like that. What was the reason that you left your corporate job after 6 years and then you started something on your own? What was the reason?
So I basically worked first for corporate, then I worked for a startup, and I think now it's just also just a time in my life where I feel like this is what I can do. This is what I want to do. I just moved to a new city. I just, like it just feels refreshing, and I think it feels also challenging, but I think it's just time to try. I've built some connections. I've met so many people already that I want to see if I can also do it myself, because this is just what I like to do. And I like talking to people. I like not just automating, I like all aspects of maybe building a business, maybe like taking care of marketing and so on. It's very tiring, but it is what it is. Like you got to try, your best. So this is, I think, my reasoning, and I just cannot wait to also meet like other people who are as excited as I am about this whole automation space. And this is what I was basically doing, talking to people, seeing what other developers and agencies are doing, and just it's a very great space to be in also.
Yeah, it's rewarding as well. No doubt there's a lot of work needed, but it's equally rewarding as well. Coming to monetary benefits, so like a question generally comes in the mind. So whoever wants to start something on their own, so the general advice people like to give is like, if you are in a corporate, if your side hustle is able to match or closely match that amount what you are earning in your corporate, it's the best time to leave corporate job and try something on your own. So was that the case with you? Are you able to match those income levels and then you started something on your own?
I didn't think about it that much. Actually, I was just like, yeah, let me just do it. Like, thankfully, can like allow myself to also earn lower first than I used to build up on that. Thankfully, I know that not maybe everyone can do that. And of course, I'm like living off my savings sometimes, but it is what it is. So I like it. And I think it will bring like in a month or two much more than I could ever dream of having. So this is just, it's a work in progress, let's say. But I was just like, let's just do it, whatever, in a way.
Yeah, awesome. All the best for a new
I
journey.
hope so.
So while you were working with organizations, so what was your approach to measure the ROI of your automation projects?
I think that sometimes, like maybe what is a wrong approach sometimes is just to measure money-wise. So, okay, we invest this amount of money for analysis and development phase, and then this amount of hours we save. So like this is definitely a wrong approach. So I think a much better approach is to look also not just quantity wise, but quality wise. It's not something you can always measure, but if you think like human errors wise or customer satisfaction wise, employee satisfaction wise. So I think it is something I don't often see in, calculators or articles. Okay, maybe if your employee does this stupid process for like 1 month more, then you're just going to leave your company for the best. But what if you can retain them? Okay, you don't have to hire a new employee, train them. So it's like, I think it's a very broader topic than just how much money we put in, how much money we saved. So I think that like, depending on the company and the process, just more aspects needs to be, compared. And also it doesn't stop at like you developing it, introducing. There is also testing, maintenance, there are changes. So you would need to support this process. So there is also more costs than people expect sometimes, I feel.
So it's kind of a hard plus soft benefits. Both should be considered.
Yeah, soft benefits sometimes can like outnumber the hard ones, and you do not always take it into consideration even.
Yeah. Got it. So you wore multiple hats, like you were also talking to the business, you were developing the solution, you were supporting the solution. So any specific challenges that you face from your experience, people can learn how to support better a bot or maintain a bot better once it's live?
I think like first step is always when it highly depends on when you are delivering a bot and you are releasing it live. And then this like first weeks are the most important of what's going to happen next. So first of all, always when you move your bot to production, give the proper training to people who are going to use this automation, because it is so important that it's used right, that the expectations are correct, and that people know like that they need to use it actually, because It's not once when I had a situation, okay, we deliver a project and then 3 months later, I find out that maybe it was used like 5 times and there were like 20, 30,000 of dollars invested in it. So I think this is what business also needs to do. They need to make sure that the bot is actually being used. We didn't just waste so much money for people not to even know it is there. But then, yeah, just keep in close contact with the business. So like always in this hypercare phase, just like very closely monitor all the logs. Because you can think that it's running and it might give some results, but then there is like hundreds of errors happening. No one ever checks them because no one maybe reported them. So it's just very closely monitor your logs and very closely talk to your business.
True. Yeah. Thanks for those insights. I think it would help the audience. Moving on to the next question. What skills should aspiring automation professionals focus on developing?
So I think besides what I mentioned with coding, I think right now it is very important, and I'm also trying to focus on it more, is UI and UX. Especially if you're not just doing, of course, if you're doing a UiPath bot, it's probably not that important. However, if you are building, okay, let's take Power Apps, you're building an application in Power Apps and it just looks bad, but you justify it with, it's no code, it's Power Apps. Everyone expects it to look bad. This is like a sure way to never get another Power Apps project. So focus on UI, UX. If you're already like good with all your basics, focus on UI, UX and make them look pretty, like make your solutions look pretty, make your apps look pretty, and it's like a long way to go. Like no one will even understand that it's no code. Everyone will just think you're very good with CSS and HTML.
True. It's difficult to customize certain pieces of platform because you don't get that much of a liberty that you get if you're building a custom app. But still, there are ways your solution can look better in terms of UI if there's a UI element to it. Mostly
Exactly.
for all the Power Apps, it is like that.
I always, like when I need to build something visual, let's say, I'm always just going to Pinterest and literally writing like whatever I need. Let's say a reporting app, UI, UX. How many inspirations you can get there? It's crazy. Like don't look for inspirations in other no-code apps. Look for inspirations in apps that were actually coded. Or like just gain inspiration from something you might not even be able to achieve, but like aim for the best, let's say like this.
That's true. Any last pieces of advice you would like to give to the developer community audience?
I think keep having fun maybe with your automation, because I think like with time it can get a bit mundane, and when you're doing, also it's just getting manual, like you're doing the same thing in UiPath. So you're becoming this like bored worker as the other people who are automating for. So just explore other softwares. There's so many of them. Try to bring some automation to your life because it's just fun. Like have fun with your projects. And if you have an idea, just go with it. Like if you want to build your own platform, just go with it. If you want to build your own agency, just go with it. And don't limit yourself. Don't limit yourself to one software also. I know it was supposed to be last piece of advice and I gave like 10, but I think just have fun with it and then get inspired by other developers maybe.
I think definitely those are a value add because coming from your experience, everyone's experience is different. Perspectives are also different. Probably one last question, like you have started something on your own. So how you look for clients? Like, so that's the toughest thing to do, getting the work. So what strategies or what process do you follow?
So I think a very good strategy is to network with people. Like you never know who might know someone who needs you and they don't know about your existence. So it's a very good way, just like make yourself known in a way. Also write to other agencies, like ask them if they need a helping hand. Of course, check Upwork, Fiverr. So for sure, like just start from those like single projects. Don't aim right away to get a multi-million project until you like build up this trust. No one's gonna like trust you with multi-million projects. So, but also don't get discouraged. I think like everyone's journey is different. Don't look at those agencies earning 100,000 per month with 20 employees. You first of all don't have to be there at any point of your career because it's just not the ultimate goal, and everyone's journey is different. Take it slow, but like make sure steps rather than aim for something unrealistic in 1 month to get such revenue. It's just impossible.
Super. Thanks for that. Yeah. Thank you for your time and thanks for joining me for this podcast. How has been your experience coming to this podcast?
I think it's great. Like I've known you. So we've been like low-key talking, and it's great also to like finally meet you, get to talk to you, and just like the questions are great. So just thank you so much for taking your time also to talk to me.
Yeah. Thank you so much and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.